Hello everybody, welcome to our presentation today. My name is Jim Patterson from Tivity. Joining me is Matthew Willey, also from Tivity. We will be telling you more about our company and our offerings later in the presentation, but today our topic is Effective PPM with Microsoft Project Online. In it, we will provide an overview of Microsoft Project Online and how an integrated PPM solution can provide significant improvements in organizational and project performance. We will also demonstrate Project Online's end-to-end capabilities and how it can also be extended to support a unified work management experience, supporting all forms of project execution, waterfall, agile, and others. Before we get started, we have a few quick logistics to go over with you. First off, we will not be opening the phone line for questions. All lines will be muted during the webinar. However, we will answer questions that are captured in the chat and question panel throughout today's presentation should you have any. Also, you can feel free to email us directly, and we'll be happy to answer any questions as well. We will be presenting up our contact information to you as we get to the end of the presentation. Also, if for some reason you get distracted or pulled away during the webinar, no need to worry. We will be distributing the recording of today's presentation to all registrants following the webinar. And with that, let's get started with Effective PPM with Microsoft Project Online. So let's start with a portfolio management overview. What really is the definition classically of project and portfolio management, or PPM? Well, it's been defined as the practice of identifying, selecting, and managing a portfolio of projects that align to strategic objectives and honor resource constraints. And with that classic definition, PPM is intended to deliver executive alignment on strategies and drivers for the overall organization and where it wants to go. It's supposed to provide for the management of risks and resources as we deliver on that portfolio. Also provide some investment guidance to maximize return and benefit to the organization. Also, it's designed to provide quick, objective decision-making by providing information at the right time so that we can actually make those decisions and have good decision support. Also, it's designed to provide enhanced visibility and communication so we can see where we're at, get information on all different dimensions of our project and portfolio management efforts. And these classic definitions still hold true today. But what is happening that the environment that we're executing PPM is really changing rapidly. If you look at the past or traditional versus what's happening today, there's certain key things that are really prevalent. In the past, we had projects in these project management systems that were really conducive to long product cycles. And today, with technology, it's more rapid innovation. Most of our companies now are becoming software companies, even if they are traditional brick and mortar type of companies. Email is no longer just the collaboration, communication way that we're doing. Social collaboration becomes the norm of the day. The traditional workplace has been replaced by global, far-flung teams and telecommuting, where people may be working from different places on any given day. And then we used to have less data and just high-level information regarding some projects, and now we're getting much more rich information and big data sets that allow us the opportunity to do some really dynamic reporting and things like that that we need in order to stay on top and stay competitive in the marketplace. The real thing that happens with this new marketplace is that constant change is the new normal, where projects in the past, in the yesteryear, were done in more of a predictable, stable business environment, and it was a steady as she goes and stay the course type of approach. The pace of change and innovation is changing rapidly. So now and tomorrow we're going to have more unpredictable and dynamic business environments, and we need to be prepared for change, and change needs to be kind of baked into our processes, approaches, and systems as we move forward if we want to be effective and competitive. So really, smart innovation is the key. If we really are becoming technology businesses in a technology-driven economy, innovation becomes a key part of adding to the PPM mix over and above the traditional definition. And if you look at some of the key metrics that are out there, there's a lot of room for improvement out there in the marketplace. You can see that 58% of companies, according to Capgemini, still do not have an innovation strategy. According to PwC, 68% of orgs do not align projects or their corporate strategic goals with one another as part of their core core process. And also, according to Bull, 57% of projects fail due to breakdowns in communications or lack of communications or collaboration that's being done on an effective basis. If we can address these things, there is an opportunity, as we can see from companies that do this, that we get higher compound annual growth rates and also increases in projects completed on time and within budget within an organization. So there is definitely room for improvement out there. By the numbers, the reality of projects, I won't go through this in gory detail, but the idea there is a significant dollar value of failed projects or projects that are challenged or failed in there, whether it be from a schedule or a cost perspective. Improvements with PPM by the analysts have shown to provide increases in strategic alignment, schedule performance, time to market for product and software companies, and also internally within IT, budget savings and reducing the cost so that we can do more with less. These pains also trickle down to the execution level with the project managers. For example, inconsistent approaches by not having a coherent PPM solution and process can drive frustration and inefficiencies that allow us to not perform at our very best and provide frustration at the project management level. Resource management, inability to get resources on an effective basis and utilize resources in a way that help us deliver on projects is also something that is a pain at the execution level. Strategic alignment, making sure that we're working on the right things and understanding clearly as an organization what are the priority things to be working on are things that can also affect a project manager's day-to-day existence. And just overall project visibility, having things in separate systems, emails, spreadsheets, etc., can really impact negatively our ability to be effective in delivering projects and delivering the right projects to the organization. So with that, Microsoft has done a really good job evolving over the years in providing a full-featured project and portfolio management solution. It really addresses all these major capability areas of alignment and the portfolio management side of things, execution from doing the project and resource management and detailed execution through delivery, and also all the collaboration along the way to help our teams work better in concert and work more effectively to delivering better performance on projects and just better quality overall. So if you look at these capabilities into major functional areas within the project and portfolio management solution that's offered by Project Online, they are in the major areas of portfolio management, project management, resource management, and project collaboration. All the different detailed functional areas, we're going to cover a lot of these today during our overview demonstration. But portfolio management includes demand management and intake, portfolio selection, and portfolio reporting. Project management does include scheduling, issue and risk management, and project reports along the way. Resource management does include capacity planning in detailed resource execution management, time reporting, etc. And on the project collaboration, cloud sharing of content, co-authoring of documents, project team sites and team communication capabilities, whether it be through chatting, communications, or other mechanisms, are all inherent as part of the solution. We'll talk more about that as we go on through. So if you think about Project Online as being an end-to-end solution that provides all the capabilities from original intake of an idea and demand all the way through delivering on those projects and all of the capabilities in between, whether it be portfolio analytics and selection, schedule management, business intelligence and reporting, all the financial aspects, etc. They are all contained within a cohesive solution and not separate, disparate spreadsheet systems, etc. The idea is that we can have a hub of information for all of our project and portfolio needs. With that, Project Online takes it to the next step in becoming more effective in that it's provided to you from the Microsoft Cloud. With that, you get the redundant data centers and the stability and the reliability of all that, high levels of uptime and compliance, meaning that you have an infrastructure that you don't have to worry about. You can get to the business of what your core mission is for your company and not have to worry about managing the IT infrastructure side of things. Also, Project Online and Project have become part of the Office 365 experience. So for folks that are in the cloud for things like email and document management and social collaboration and SharePoint sites and other lines of business integrations and reporting, project becomes just a natural extension or part of the overall Office 365 experience, meaning your PPM operation does not have to be something separate and distinct from where you do all of your other work and productivity for your business on a day-to-day basis. End of the day, putting in a cloud-based PPM solution has significant returns, and I won't go through all these in gory detail. We will be sharing these slides with you after the presentation. But the idea, there is return on investment and payback to be had, and significant improvements in areas like project budget overruns, in the reduction of labor costs, in the reduction of time and effectiveness of allocating resources to projects, improving resource utilization, and just overall centralized enterprise collaboration impacts that can be made according to Forrester. So if we then take it from that portfolio management level capability from the top down and think about executing on projects and other types of work, we do have a new landscape out there in the marketplace that we believe that Project Online really addresses very well. Today, we have all different kinds of work. We have disconnected systems and processes typically to manage those different types of work, different systems for managing different types of work, parallel processes that generally don't talk to one another, effectively providing silos within your organization. Project management at the center is something we're talking about here today, and people traditionally think about project management with PPM solutions and traditional types of waterfall type projects. But the other areas, things like application management and software development, people may be using other tools off to the side to do more agile type of approaches to respond to the marketplace and do things in a more iterative fashion using tools like Visual Studio Jira version 1. And the other thing is that you have a lot of work that's being done in service management solutions, things like service management solutions like ServiceNow, etc. But the idea is that these are different types of work that are being done by your resources in the organization, and they tend to be treated in a very siloed and disconnected process in the current state of the market today. We have the opportunity with the cloud, with Project Online. If you look at the top of that bar, Project Online still provides that end-to-end cohesive solution for all of your project work. But we now have the ability through the cloud, through a capability called Project Connect, to be able to provide the tool sets and the work experience that's appropriate for the user base and the teams that are out there delivering on these projects. Microsoft Project and the Project Web Access tool allow you to do traditional waterfall projects inherent within Project Online, as they always have, and do an effective job of doing so. But being able to fold in best-of-breed tools on things like agile types of projects and using agile methodologies, or maybe even simple task management tools like Office 365 Planner and Wunderlist from Microsoft, the ability to execute and interface with the system in tools that are appropriate for you are something that's a new evolution. So for example, Project Center in Project Online would be the hub in all cases of all portfolios of information. Project portfolios of all types, whether they be waterfall projects, agile projects, or maybe even more unstructured types of work, can be done for governance and investment approval. And if it's a waterfall type project, using the natural extensions of Microsoft Project or Project Online allow you to do the scheduling and detailed resource planning that you want to do as an ongoing basis. But also be able to access and execute from Project Online with tools like Visual Studio for agile planning is something that's now within our grasp. And we can extend this concept to all kinds of work, whether it be service management, agile work, things of integrating with a more financial system, etc., or other task management tools to interconnect with those things, or things that allow us to be more multifunctional and address a lot of different constituencies within our organizations. The outcomes is hopefully what we'll be showing you today with our upcoming demonstration, is that we can provide comprehensive reporting and visibility across all work, provide centralized visibility of work, resources, and financial information, and provide decentralized contribution, meaning that giving people the tools to interface with the system that are appropriate for the types of work they're doing is going to allow them to update themselves and provide that decentralized contribution to get quicker turnarounds on updates, progress, and status. And by having streamlined collaboration across those roles, we'll become more effective and have reduced barriers to participation in putting an enterprise project and portfolio management system in place. Ultimately, hopefully more satisfied users through the user experience. With that, I'd like to turn the stage over to Matt Willey, our product guru here at Tivity, and he'll be giving you a demonstration of Project Online and some of the capabilities we talked about in the previous slides.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jim. All right. So we're logged in here into Project Online. And Project Online is part of Office 365. It really sits within the same container. So I have access to all my other Office 365 apps right from here. And I log in with the same username and password. Once I'm in Project Online, right now what we're looking at is our list of different projects. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the whole process here from intake of different ideas and such in project requests and things of that nature, all the way through getting visibility into those projects that we're executing on and so on and so forth. So really the full-on life cycle. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. So the way these projects can get here, if you want to, as Jim was talking about, you can implement an ideation or an innovation type of practice within your organization. And to do so, what I can do is I can set up really a request or an ideas list. And within this list, people can submit their ideas, and they could do so from web forms that might be out on websites or right within a SharePoint list like you see right here. And when I want to submit my idea, I just say new item. I fill out a little bit of basic information. And the idea is so that these ideas don't get lost, we can capture them, get some basic information around them. And then we can start to do some very light prioritization to figure out, okay, out of all of these different ideas and project requests and such, which ones look the most interesting to us, look like they are aligned with our organization and what we're trying to do and are going to give us some good value. And so to do that, we can also flip to more of like an Excel spreadsheet online type of a view where I can then kind of update some of these choices. You know, okay, I don't really think it's going to help lower costs that much. I think it's only going to help lower costs and by mediumly, you know, that type of a thing. And when you do that, it'll actually update the score over here. You can also let people kind of vote on these things. And the idea is, as people are putting in these requests and ideas, and you're updating the information here and kind of monitoring these coming in, and people are voting and such, the more valuable ideas will kind of bubble their way up to the top. And so I like to think of this as a funnel. This is the very first part of the funnel. We might get, you know, 1,000 ideas every year. And it doesn't necessarily make sense to go do very detailed planning on 1,000 different ideas, you know, building out project schedules and resource plans and detailed budgets and things, if we're not going to do nearly that many of them. So you can start out with some high-level planning like this, filter it down to, say, 100, you know, get it down to a smaller, more manageable chunk. And then from there, it's going to take us into the next part where we can then take these different project requests and we can create projects out of them, requested projects. And from there, we can do a little bit more detailed analysis. So that's where we're going to move to next. So now we've got this down to a more manageable level. You know, we have our different project requests in here. And we want to do some analysis around those requests and some more detailed planning to figure out, okay, where should I really be investing my time, my resources, my dollars, etc., to be able to get the most benefit back to the business? So one of the things I can do is I can put in a high-level budget. Another thing that I can do is I can put in a high-level resource plan. So from a resource planning perspective, I can pop open Microsoft Project for any one of these particular projects here. I can put in some generic resource roles, like for this project, I think I'm going to need a developer or multiple developers, a project manager, QA, so on and so forth. And basically what I need to do without having to build a very detailed project schedule, I want to get a better idea of what roles we're going to need for this project. And are we going to need 5 people, 10 people, 100 people? And for the next 3 months or 6 months or a year, you know, start to get an idea of the scope of this project from a resource perspective. So what I do is I come in here and I can select, say, my developer here, and I'm going to create what's called a new engagement. An engagement is really just a placeholder for a resource, as well as later on, if this project gets approved, it can actually become a request for this resource that a resource manager or someone of that nature can then fulfill with an actual named person to work on this project. To put the request in, I'll come into my description here, and let's say I need this developer to write HTML. So I can put a little description about what I want to happen. And then I can pick a start and end date. You know, I think I'm going to need them starting in November, and I'm going to need them, say, through February, something of that nature for the next few months. I can say I need them 100% of the time or only 50% of the time or, you know, whatever I might need. You could also do this in hours. You could say, I think I'm going to need about 200 hours of development. So you have a choice there. I usually do it in percents just because it then calculates all the hours out for you based off of how many hours are in the month, and if there are any holidays coming up and all these types of things, it takes into account all that for you. Then you can put any other comments if you have some kind of special requirements or whatever it might be. Say OK, and you've now added that engagement. And you can see over here on the right, it put in 100% for those 4 months that I picked. But from there, this is really an editable spreadsheet. So if you wanted to say, well, actually in November, we're just going to be ramping up. I think I'll only need you 50%. And in February, we'll be kind of wrapping it up. So maybe I only need you 50% there. You can kind of make any changes you want. And so it makes it really quick and easy to build this high-level resource plan. So when we're doing our prioritization, we can have a better idea of where should we put our resources? Do we have enough resources to do all these projects of these different roles and such? Where are our deficiencies? And we'll see how that looks in just a second. The other thing that you could do, as I mentioned, is build a high-level budget. So we have at least an idea of how much this is going to cost us over a particular period of time and what different categories are these costs in. So here I popped open our cost planner, and the cost planner allows you to track not just budgets, but you can also track actual costs. I could have a forecast cost category here. You could track benefits if you wanted to. You can configure this to track lots of different types of costs. In this case, let's just look at a budget, and then I'm going to group that budget by capital and operational expenses. So now I can see, okay, we have these different categories: equipment, software, capitalized labor, etc. And this is configurable, so whatever categories you would want to track, we could set it up to have your categories. And then we can break this out into different types, like capital expense and operational expense, or other things, however you want to be able to break that up into your cost hierarchy. Then we key in here, very much like an online Excel spreadsheet, we can come and key in these different costs. And when we do that, it's going to then generate some totals, so you can see it kind of rolling up here, and that's going to then feed our portfolio analysis as well. So now we know, okay, it's going to cost us this much to do this project. We're going to need these resources, we think, at least at a high level. And then the last part of it is, what is the value of this particular project? So what I can do here is I can click on my project, and in order to kind of tell us, well, what value is this project going to give us, I can come in to my strategic impact area here, and I can identify, based off of the different business drivers that we've set up in the systems, what are our business goals? Things like we want to expand into new markets, we want to improve customer satisfaction, product quality, lowering costs, whatever it might be, those types of things. We can define these different business drivers or business goals, and for then each project we can score them and say, okay, I think this project is strongly going to help me expand into new markets. Well, what does strongly mean? Well, it means that it's going to get us into new markets that are from a size of $1 million to $3 million, that type of a thing. And it's really important to tie these back to objective actual numbers or percents, something objective. Otherwise, when people put their projects in, they just set these all to extreme. They go, yep, this is extreme, 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 extreme. This is the best project ever, that type of a thing. And it makes it really hard then to get some good information on, which projects are going to give you the most value. So from there, now we can jump into the portfolio analysis, right? We took that smaller group of projects that we had narrowed down from our initial kind of requests and ideas. We put in some more detailed plans around that, around budget, around resources, and what value does that give back to our business. Now we can do an analysis. So let's say we have $4 million. And with that $4 million, we need to figure out which projects we can do, but more importantly, which projects should we do, is what this is going to allow me to do. It's also going to help me give information back to the business on, okay, you're throwing all these projects at me. If I'm going to do this in this period of time, here's what I'm going to need, both from a cost and a resource perspective. And I'll show you what I mean. So let's say we had $4 million. That's what we've been allocated for budget so far. That's what we're thinking we're going to be able to have. And it's saying that if you have $4 million, you should do these projects and you should not do these projects. And if you do these projects, you're going to get 66% of the value of this portfolio. And that's based off of those drivers and the priority of those drivers and the scoring that we've done and so on and so forth. But you can go, well, we are willing to invest a little bit more maybe so that we can do some more of these projects and get some more value. What would that look like? Well, what if I had $5 million? I can flip to that, and I can see how that affects it. Now we get 87% of the value. And you can start to find what's called your efficient frontier of where as I invest more money, I get more value. At some point, as you throw more money at this, you're not going to get as much value because some of these projects don't provide nearly as much value comparatively to the cost. So it's kind of taking that all into account and help giving you some objective information to make these decisions. From there, you can force things in, you can force things out. So, if there's a compliance project you have to do, you push that in. If there's something you absolutely don't want to do for whatever reason, you can push that out. And then kind of figure out, okay, if we have $5 million, we're going to spend this. This looks good. Let's then move on to resources. Just because we have the dollars to do this doesn't necessarily mean we have the people to do this within those particular periods of time. So how do we fix that? Well, we can see here we don't. So it's saying that with the resources that I currently have, and based off of the estimated starts and finish dates of these projects that I pulled in, by the way, you can pull in-flight projects as well so that it calculates that all together. I can then see that it's saying we should put our resources on these projects, not these ones. That's going to give us the most value. It's going to give us 62% of the value. But there's things we can do to get that up. One thing we can do is, what if we stagger these projects a little bit better, push some of them out? So I can come in and I can update the new start dates of these projects, say push it out 3 months, 6 months, whatever it might be. Push those projects out, and that's going to allow us then to get some more projects in and get some more value without having to change the amount of resources we have. The other variable you can change, though, is the amount of resources you have. So what if I hire 6 resources? I can put in 6. I can say recalculate, and then it's going to possibly push some projects in here because we can now do more if we were to hire those particular resources. So now we're up to 76%. We bumped that up. We got some more projects in. So you can kind of play around with this, come up with different scenarios. There's even a compare function to compare those scenarios to each other. And the point is we can then come up with a plan to say, okay, we're going to hire some resources. We're going to move some projects around based off of some projects are lower priority than others. So let's push those out a little bit or possibly just put them on hold altogether for right now. And here's our plan. Here's our scenario. From there, I can commit this scenario. And now we have a set of approved projects where we can start going and planning out in more detail and then eventually executing and collaborating on and such, which is where we're going to go into next. So that's really the top-down part of this, right? Kind of the top-down portfolio planning, looking at your demand coming in and figuring out where you want to put your resources and your costs and which projects and ideas and such initiatives you're actually going to start executing on. So that brings us to here. So let's go ahead and jump on into execution. One thing to point out, as you're going through this whole process, there are workflows that can be built in, stage gate workflows, that allow you to track what stage you're at. And when you go from one stage to the next, you can send out approvals, automated approvals. They get an email notification and they can approve those through the system and such. So you can move from one stage to the next. For example, here, I'm currently in the very first stage. I'm waiting for my budget approval on this particular project. And I'm going to be going through some different stages here. This is kind of a PMBOK type of a workflow that may look familiar to you. But we can set it up with whatever different stages your organization requires. And as you go through those stages, you can automate notifications and emails and approvals, and you can lock down information. So once we get into executing, we lock down our budget maybe, things of that nature. So you can really automate that whole process. All right, so then getting more into the details of actually executing on this work, the next thing that you might do is start to build out your project schedule, right? We now have our project approved. I might want to start building out my project schedule. Now, based off of the project type, you could have already had a project schedule template set up, so that when you come in here, this isn't empty, right? You don't have to start from scratch. If we're doing similar projects over and over again, maybe upgrades or enhancements or whatever it might be, we can have project types set up for that have schedule templates so that we don't have to start from scratch. You can even have those generic resources already assigned to those tasks. So once a resource manager actually staffs my project with resources, I can then just find and replace them. So the way that looks is if I come over here into resources, switching to more of a resource manager view, I can say, okay, let's say I'm in charge of all the business analysts, and I want to see all those different requests coming in, and I want to then see who's available and fulfill them. So I can come here and I can select all my business analysts, and I'm going to click on resource requests, And it's going to show me all of those requests. These are the requests that came out of that initial resource plan we built. Remember earlier on we said we needed a developer, we need a business analyst, we need these different roles, right? And it's showing me, okay, we need a business analyst, here's the description, here's the project it's needed for, the requester, so on and so forth. I need them 100% of the time from this date to that date, right? So you get all this information, and then if you want even more details, like on the actual hours in particular, weeks or months and such, then you can get the kind of time phase hour information over there as well. And I go, great, okay, let's go see who's available. So then I can click on capacity planning here. It's going to show me all these different business analysts, who's working on what. I can see, for example, a team is working on, granting access to applications, which is actually an operational project, that type of a thing, as well as internal software database audit. He's over allocated. We probably want to stay away from him. We have other resources like Erwin here, who is looking pretty well allocated within this period of time, so we might want to stay away from Erwin. But there are other people like Patrick and Yukari that don't have anything going on, so they show up in blue here. They're under-allocated. So we want to make sure we're getting them work and utilizing them properly. So I go, okay, Patrick looks good. Let's flip back into resource requests. And I'm going to collapse up all my committed ones here. And all I have to do is switch this over then to Patrick. That'll notify the project manager and say, hey, Patrick's been staffed on your project. And you can kind of go through that negotiation process with the project manager and a resource manager if you choose to do so. This is all not required things by any means. But it allows you to then go through that process, get your resources assigned. Now I can start actually going back and then executing on my particular project. So to execute on the project, you have multiple different options. It really comes down to two things. One, the type of the project. Is this a project that lends itself better to being managed in a waterfall way or an agile way? And two, really the complexity of the project and or the maturity of the project manager who might be managing the project. So what that lends itself best to is if it's an agile project, it may make sense to manage it over in an agile tool and then push that information back in. If it's a low complexity project and we just kind of want a task list or something of that nature, maybe we want to just you to do some simple dragging and dropping to update status and things of that nature, then maybe we use the Office 365 Planner to do that. And so I'm going to show a few of these different options. Standard kind of waterfall projects, and if you have a lot of dependencies and you have more mature project managers and such, there's a couple different options that you have right in Project Online. So one of them, I'm going to go ahead and click on, say, my VoIP Phones project here. One of them is there's this online planner that we briefly saw earlier. So this is actually editable. I could come in here and I can make changes to these different things, and you can edit your project schedule all right within Project Online. What I would say, though, is it's a very light planner. It doesn't have necessarily all the different features and capabilities and such as of a Project Desktop has, Project Professional, which we'll see in just a second. But it does allow you to really quickly come in right through your browser without having to pop open another application, make some updates, assign tasks to people, save baselines. There's some kind of basic functions in here that you might want to use. There's a Gantt view, so on and so forth. If you want to use Microsoft Project, you're familiar with that, and or you want all of the robust capabilities that are involved in Microsoft Project, then instead of opening it in the online planner, you could pop that open in Microsoft Project, which you all are probably familiar with, and you can schedule out like you normally would and use all the different great tools in here. Everything from the different views and such. For example, I really like the team planner is a really cool one that allows you to see all of your unassigned tasks and kind of drag those up and down into people who are available on your particular team. And there's lots of great different views and such and tools within here that allow you to manage especially more complex waterfall types of projects. So once you have your project the way you want it, you can save that, and when you do so, it's going to save it back to Project Online instead of saving it locally on your computer, so that the latest copy is always online and available. Then once you have it all locked down and you're ready to actually kind of kick the project off and start sending out notifications to people who have been assigned tasks and such, you can hit publish, and that's going to push all those tasks in the system, generate those notifications, so on and so forth. Same thing goes if you were using the online planner. You could save it and it would save a copy of that, and when you hit publish, it's going to kick off that workflow. So from a team member perspective, it doesn't matter which way you use to build these particular schedules. It's more just from a project manager perspective of what makes the most sense for the project that you're managing and what's going to give you the capabilities that you want to manage that particular project. So that's great if it's a waterfall project. You know, those capabilities are all inherently built in. But what if I want to manage a project in an Agile tool? And even more than that, what if we're already using an Agile tool to manage our projects? Say something like Visual Studio Team Services, which is the online version of what was previously TFS or Team Foundation Server, which is kind of Microsoft's Agile tool. So if I wanted to do that, what I could do is I could come to one of my projects, like say my Fabricam project here, and we've added a button that says open in VSTS. And so what that's going to do is it's actually going to pop open Visual Studio Team Services for you. Or people could just log directly into Visual Team Services if they're just working in here all the time. You know, maybe your Agile teams just work in here and they don't generally go into Project Online. They could still just come directly here. And what I'm going to be able to do is instead of building out my schedule in the online planner or project desktop, I can build it out over here. So I would say, here are all the different epics that I want to do, kind of high-level pieces of functionality. And then under that, I'm going to break those into different features, and I'm going to break those features into user stories or use cases, and then I'm going to break those down to the detailed tasks and bugs and such that we're actually going to work on. From there, I can say, okay, in the next couple weeks, in the next iteration, I'm going to take some of these items and I'm going to drag and drop them in and do an iteration. And what I'm really doing here is I'm for all intents and purposes, building my schedule. It's just in an Agile way. So then I build out my different iterations here. I can flip this to my Kanban board view. And from here, we can assign tasks to people. We can drag and drop these tasks through the different swim lanes here to update the status. People can also submit time on these particular items here. So I could come in and I can put in my actual time and say, you know, I worked on this task today for 8 hours or whatever it might be. And so all along, as I'm putting in these different work items and I'm updating status and assigning them and updating time and all of that, we can send that information back into Project Online. By the way, it's not just VSTS that we can do this with. If you're using Jira, we have a connector for that. We also have one for version 1. You know, a lot of the different kind of more popular Agile tools that people are generally using. So how does this work? Well, it works exactly the same way. So what we can do now is I'm going to go ahead and flip back here, and I'm going to go to my home page and to my Project Online page here. And what we do is we add in some different buttons. There's an app that you install that adds in these buttons. And we have a Publish button here. So just like I went into Project Professional or into the Online Planner and Publish to push that information out and kind of make it available in all the different reports and notifications to people and so on and so forth, I can now do the same thing from here. I hit publish, it'll push that back in. If you don't ever want to hit the publish button, we can even set it so that it'll automatically do it every night or every hour or however often you want it to happen, that type of a thing. But we've kind of found people like to be able to hit publish to really push that information back in and have control over when that goes in so that you can control what information is showing. From there, what does that look like? You know, what's the output of that? So we actually add another button here that allows me to link back into my project schedule over in Project Online so I can see the output of that very easily without having to go navigate back through Project Online. So it takes me right in here into my schedule view like we saw earlier, that online planner. And we have some other views in here like say my VSO summary view. And now we can see that Agile schedule, so to say, that we built over in VSTS. Pushed back in, we can see the same things. We have our epics and our features and our stories and then our detailed tasks and bugs below that, so on and so forth. So we're pushing all that information back in a way that we can show it, you know, how we want it and be able to get visibility into that, as well as we can then track time across that and see resource load across that. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So from a time perspective, we also put a nice button here so you can easily get to your timesheet. So if I'm working in VSTS all day, let's say I'm a developer, at the end of the week, I've been putting in time on all the different tasks and bugs and such I've been working on. At the end of the week, I can click on this. It's going to open up my timesheet for me. 95% of my time is probably already in here if I've been filling it out during the week over in VSTS. But maybe I want to put in, you know, on Monday I had some admin time, and on Friday actually I took vacation or whatever it might be. So you can put in the rest of your time here if you're missing anything. Or if you were working on any waterfall projects, those tasks would all be in here as well, and you could put in the time on those if you hadn't already done so. save and submit your time, and you've now submitted your time. So in one particular system, we can see the time that's being spent on all work across multiple different systems, so we don't have to try to do lots of manual things to pull that data together in Excel and data warehouses and all this. It's already all together in one place, and we'll take a look at some reports of what that looks like in just a second. Lastly then, from a resource management perspective, we'll also see some different reports of how bringing all that data together, all the work that people are working on across systems, we can get a better idea of who's working on what as well. So then we're working on these projects, we put in our plans, people are assigned these tasks, they start working on them. There's a My Work where they can see all the different work items that are assigned to them and they can update their status and such. We already saw the timesheet where you can enter time. The last kind of part of this is there's a project site where people can communicate and collaborate on these different projects to be able to really make sure that these projects are succeeding and everyone's working together. So going into my project sites here, for each particular project we can have a project site, and on the home page of that project site I get a little overview of my project, kind of the basic timeline, some of the tasks that are upcoming and overdue, things of that nature. I have a nice news feed here where I can put in announcements and say, hey, don't forget the meeting on Friday, come with your questions, whatever it might be, and people can like those and reply, and so you can kind of get social around this. This can even tie in with Yammer if you're using Yammer. It can integrate with that so you can utilize your Yammer streams right within your project sites. And you can also have different documents already in here. So based off of the project type that I created, when it creates this project site for me, we can have it already preloaded with different templates and process documents and whatever it might be that you might want in here, so people don't have to go try to find those. They're already here ready to go. One thing to point out while I'm here on the home page is that Project Online, since it's part of Office 365, it has lots of kind of integration points. For example, if I was to come hover over someone's name here, like Daniel Williams, it pulls up this menu of options here for me where if Daniel's online, I can then use Skype for Business to give him a quick message and get some communication going. I could give him a quick Skype call. I could send them an email from here. There's lots of ways that it really makes the interface kind of tie this whole thing together, all the different apps. If I upload a document here into my documents in Project Online, into my project sites, when I go into my OneDrive, I can actually access all of my project documents from there, as well as any of my other documents. So those kind of all roll up together into OneDrive, which is really the shared drive of Office 365. It's the best way to think about that. Lastly, in your project site, you can also track other project artifacts like issues, risks, changes, so on and so forth. And let's say I wanted to add an issue. It's as easy as coming in, saying new item, filling out a little form, who's the owner of this issue, who's it assigned to, the status, due dates. Once we resolve it, what's the resolution, those types of things. And as with most things in the system, this is configurable, so if there's other information you want to track around issues, then we can set that up for you just by creating more fields and things. It's all just configuration, no code or such required. You can also track risks, changes, status reports, to-dos, there's calendars, all kinds of things. There's even a feature I really like, which is the notebook, and if you click on that, what it's going to do is it's going to take me into OneNote Online. Again, another way how Office 365 and Project Online are really tied together really nicely is it pops open OneNote Online, and now say for any of my project's meeting minutes, I can keep those all intact within my project site in my OneNote notebook here, and then I can share those with whoever I want and just really have that all organized together related back to this project, so I'm never trying to find things. It's all together and organized for me, that kind of a thing. All right, so we started out, we picked and chose the right projects. Then we built out more detailed plans and we got resources on those particular projects. Then we executed and we're tracking, our status and our time and, and issues and risks and all these different types of things around our projects. Lastly then, what I want to be able to do is I want to get visibility into everything that's going on so I can make better decisions and I can make sure that we're staying on track and so on and so forth. So to do that, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pop open Power BI. Power BI is another app that's part of Office 365, and it allows you to build really rich dashboards and reports. And so what we've done is we've built 35 or so different reports around Project Online specifically. By the way, you can connect into other systems, into databases and other different systems to pull data into Power BI as well. But in this case, we'll focus on some of the different Project Online types of reports that we have. So what we can do from here is let's take a look at some different reports. So I'm going to go into my project portfolio status report here. And what this is going to allow me to do is as a portfolio manager or someone who's more interested in looking across multiple different projects and seeing the different status of those projects and being able to drill into the details of those projects and how they're doing, this is really a great report for that. Now, these different projects that I see here, some of those might be managed in your Agile tool, like VSTS or Jira or whatever it might be. Some of those projects might be managed from an execution perspective anyway in Project Online. But since we're rolling that all together, it's really easy for me to get views like this to show me all my projects and some key KPIs around those projects of how they're doing. Things like overall status, schedule status, work status, resource costs, issues, so on and so forth. So now I can see, okay, 3 of my projects are at risk, 22 are over budget, 22 are behind schedule, so on and so forth, and we have issues and risks and things going on with these projects as well. From here, I can start to kind of chop that down a little bit. I can come in and say, well, I just want to focus on a specific portfolio. I'm only interested right now in our cutting cost portfolio, and I can just focus on that particular one. Or maybe I'm just interested in projects that are having issues where the overall health is either red or yellow, something of that nature. So you can kind of chop this up and filter it down and figure out, okay, here are the projects I want to focus on. And from there you can drill into the different areas. So I can drill into schedule and see, okay, I know we're having some schedule problems, but how far off are we? Well, the duration variances are here, so we can see that we're this far off. Some of them are really far off, some of them are not so far off, and we can start to get a better idea of that and how many overdue milestones and tasks we have across these projects, things of that nature. We can also see a timeline view of this if we choose to do so. You can focus more in on costs and look at your budgets versus your actual costs, what's remaining comparatively to benefits and things of that nature, and get a better idea of what's going on from a cost perspective. You can also see costs over time, so I can see budgets versus actual costs. And a lot of these different charts are drill-in capable, so if I come and click on quarter 3, it'll drill me into there and it'll actually show me then quarter 3. And I can see it on a monthly basis. And at any point you can kind of drill up or drill down to whatever level you want to see this data at, and a lot of these different visualizations that I'm showing here today. You can start to get into work. So looking at my estimated work versus my actual work, what's remaining, what's the difference between those, so we can see if we're not keeping to what we planned. We planned we were going to spend this much time, we're spending way more than what we said or way less or whatever it might be, and we can start to see where those issues are and which ones are having more trouble than others. Then I can do work by time. So same kind of thing. By time I can see our work versus our actual work. Look into those different risks and issues we were putting into our project site, and we can see, okay, across these projects, here are all the different issues. A lot of these charts are interconnected together. So if I say, like, for example, in my pie chart here, I want to click on the high priority issues, it'll then filter down and just show those, those types of things. And so I can then see issues that have been escalated across these different projects. So the idea is here is we can generate these types of reports based off of the information that's in Project Online, and instead of someone having to manually go in Excel and pull all this data together, and by the time you get it all together and create the report that you want, it's old data, and then you got to go through the whole process again. A lot of people spend a lot of time trying to manually put together reports. These are already pre-packaged, ready to go. The information just flows in from Project Online, so all you have to do to make this have the most current information is just keep your schedules and your issues and such up to date in the system, and this will all just automatically happen. So if you're looking for more of a project status report that's focused around one specific project, which is very common in a lot of organizations, we can do those types of things as well. Again, it's bringing in that information, whether it's a project that was being managed in an Agile way, or in a waterfall way, and no matter what tool you were using there from an execution perspective, as long as we roll it all back together, you're all good to go. And then you can again drill into the different areas of schedule and cost and work and so on and so forth. And it's the same types of information, just a little bit different flavor of it, and it's all focused on one particular project in this case. From a resource management perspective, because we're pulling in that work from all these different systems, we can actually instead see, we can instead be able to see across all those different tools without having to manually, pull that information out and so on and so forth. We can see across those different tools, and we can get resource information into those. And so you can see here, once this loads back up, sorry about that, you can see here I can have the availability of all of my different resources, and I can see the amount of work that we've scheduled for them by month. And I can start to see things like, where's our work going? Where's the demand going into services and programs and agile projects and, things of that nature? Who are our most over-allocated resources? You can start to get dashboards around that and drill into different areas like the utilization that I was talking about a little bit earlier. From here, again, though, you can start to chop this up. I just want to focus on my developers, so I can look at specific roles and just focus in on those. Or I just want to look at a certain portfolio or a certain department or whatever it might be. You can use the different filters here to focus in on the groups that you want. And you can tab through these into the different areas, like, say, availability. This one's one of my kind of favorites. You can see which roles are more available or not. And so, we can see where we have deficiencies, say in developers or support or wherever our deficiencies might be, or where we have too many people, there's not enough work for those resources. But from there, like a lot of these different charts, you can drill in. So I can come in and I can click on, say, my support role, for example, and it'll actually show me all those support people, who's available, who's not, so on and so forth, those types of things. So it allows me to really drill down into those details if I choose to do so. This is kind of a nice report as well. This one shows you when you originally built your resource plan and you scheduled, you said we were going to need about this much resources. That's what this red line is here. Then we built our project schedule and we estimated this much work, and that's what this green one is here. And then the last guy here is your actual work. So when we're putting in our timesheet hours, those will then add up against this. So this allows me to see all three of those different things if we're tracking all three of those different things, and the differences between them, so we can see how well we're doing planning. I originally said I was going to need this much resources, then we went and built our project schedule and it was, let's say, twice as much. We know we're having problems from a planning perspective. Later on we put in our time and it's way less. Well, hey, what's going on here? We said we were going to need this much, now we're only doing this much, those types of things, and you can start to get visibility into that. Lots of different reports and visualizations and such, and we won't go into all of them today, but the point is, because we're pulling in that information from all these different systems, we're able to look across all and answer questions like who's working on what, who's being utilized properly or not, what roles are being utilized properly or not, those types of things, which in a lot of organizations are very hard to come by, so it really helps a ton with that. If you're using the timesheet capabilities within the system, as we showed earlier, there are also timesheet reports. There are financial reports, all kinds of things in here that we built out of the box in all the kind of different areas so that you can get visibility into what's going on and you can make sure that you're understanding what's happening and making better decisions. Lastly, let's say that there is a visualization that you're looking for, a chart or something, that doesn't yet exist. Someone hasn't created it. Well, Power BI allows you to do some ad hoc reporting, and it allows you to do that very easily. So I would say I'm not the most technical user in the world. I'm more of a business user, and I want to get some information. What I can do is I can come in and I can ask a question. This is called a natural language query. And basically what I do is just like I would type in a web search into Google or Bing or whatever web search tool you might use, I can do the same thing here. So let's say I want to show average work variance. And notice as I'm typing, it's actually going to suggest things to me and such, suggest different fields and whatever it might be, and it's going to change the visualization below. So I'm going to show average work variance by, let's do project, that kind of a thing. So we'll go ahead and pick that there. And then based off of what I picked, it then actually creates a visualization. So it didn't just find a visualization that already existed, it created this based off of what I typed in. So I essentially created a report just by typing in a search query. From there I can then tweak it and go, you know what, actually I want this to be a column chart. I just type in column, now it's a column chart. Or I want this to be a pie chart. I can type in pie, now it's a pie chart. Or just a standard list view. Whatever you might want, you can get it the way you want it, and then you hit, if you want to make any more detailed adjustments, you can pop this guy open here and change font sizes and colors and all those types of things if you want to get a little bit more fancy. And then you can pin that back to your particular dashboard, like my project portfolio dashboard. And from now on, I now have this new visualization that I just created, and it only took me a short period of time to do, and I didn't have to have a lot of training or knowledge about the data set or anything like that. I can literally just type that in, drag and drop it where I want it, and now I have this new visualization that I can add to my dashboard. And so it makes it really simple and easy to do that. There's lots of ways you can share these reports and dashboards, and I won't get into all of them today, but you can, say, create a PowerPoint presentation that has these reports already in them, and they're actual live working reports. You don't have to go and take screenshots every week to create these presentations and things of that. They're live working reports, and the new data will just come in when you open them up or refresh them, those types of things. You can share links with people, lots of different cool ways. So it's really a great way to do it. And then there's also a mobile app for this, so you can access this on any of your different devices, phones, tablets, whatever, both for Apple, iOS, or for Android, or Windows, all the different main platforms. So hopefully you can see how you can manage your projects all the way from demand into execution, and then get visibility into what's going on so that we can make sure we're doing the right things and understanding what's happening and making better decisions and utilizing our resources properly, so on and so forth. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on over to Jim, and he has just a couple more closing slides for you guys, and then we'll let you go for the day.
Thank you, Matthew. Much appreciated. Hopefully you folks saw an overview of some end-to-end capabilities from the original intake all the way through project selection, different methods and approaches to doing project execution, and then collaboration and reporting. So hopefully you guys saw some value throughout all that. Let's talk about different ways Microsoft Project Online can be deployed within your organization. That's what folks like us here at Tivity do. We have been a project and portfolio management Microsoft partner, a gold certified partner, and been doing this for over 20 years. The way we help people is by getting them up quickly. We have pre-configured, pre-built solution apps that allow people to leverage best practices that have been established by things we've done for other people, and not have to build it or configure from the ground up each time we do this. We provide this in an online SaaS solution and provide the integrations that may be needed to your other line of business systems like we talked about today. And we are a gold certified partner and a P-seller, which means we work very closely with the Microsoft field to make all this happen. But it's not a one-size-fits-all world. We do provide all of the consulting, training, and services you need to help you get the most out of the solution and become successful in your deployment. But we have different ways that we can do that. We do have a pre-configured basis on which we can do a basic implementation and get you up and running with some of the common best practices in project and portfolio management already in place, and allow you to get up to speed in a very templated fashion. Also, we have a Kickstart implementation that takes that basis and through a built-order questionnaire allows you to make modifications nominally to use nomenclature and business process that you may have in place for yourselves, but not start from scratch, meaning that we get the implementation up quicker without a large consulting engagement necessary to do this from the ground up. If you do have highly tailored needs, the select implementation for a completely tailored, configured solution for you, we can do all aspects of that as well. Where you fit on that continuum and your needs really is up to you, but the idea is that we provide a way to get you up easier, quicker, and getting the benefits out of the solution much earlier. So we really are a one-stop shop for all the services, training, and consulting support. We do have traditional training, face-to-face, online training courses, as well as what we call our Project Online Academy, which is a university that is a learning management system where you have access to resources and courses and videos for not only refreshers after your initial training, but also as you bring on new employees onesie, twosie, you have the ability to get them trained without convening entire training classes for them. So we'd love to talk to you about that as well. We do webinars like this on an ongoing basis. We have a number of them coming up that are up on our website. If you go to tivity.com/webinars, you'll see not only our upcoming live webinars, but also all of the on-demand webinars recorded from the past. So if you go look at that, you might find some great content. We do these on a regular basis, so please check that out. Also, as a special offer, if you want to talk to us or schedule a live demonstration specific personally to your needs, we're happy to conduct that for you if you reach out to us at info@tivity.com. Also, if you like, we would do a free assessment for your PPM needs and give you a free trial of Project Online if that need be and support you through that. You can go to tivity.com, project-online.com, or projectconnect.com to get a variety of information based on the things that we showed you here today that we can help you with. And once again, if you'd like to contact me directly, my name is Jim Patterson at jpatterson@tivity.com, or Matt Willey, who gave the demonstration, at mwilley@tivity.com. Once again, we'll be sending these slides out to you after this, and a recording of the entire presentation if you'd like to view it later or share it with others in your organization. But with that, I'd like to thank you for devoting this time to us today. We really appreciate it, and if we can be of any assistance to you moving forward and clarify anything or answer any questions for you, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.